What's up, y'all? My name is Wabi Pharaoh, and you are watching Nuwabian Mindz. And today, we're going to talk about the fall of the Canaanite Empire. Now, a lot of you guys may be asking yourselves, what do you mean the fall of the Canaanite Empire? Well, I have some crazy news for you, and it's probably going to hit you pretty hard if you haven't been on this topic already, but the regime that we are currently under, being this Draco-reptilian system that has existed under the Piscean Age, is coming to a close. Now, with that being said, we are going into the Aquarian Age, which is an age of enlightenment, which is an age of revelation, which is an age of all those being kept in the dark is being brought to the light now. As you can see with things such as Epstein's list, with things such as Ashkenazi Jews being outed in New York for having tunnel systems that led to pretty creepy / ritualistic meeting places. And also, you know, the influx of news regarding the adrenochrome. You know, probably gonna get censored for that, but I really don't care. I need to get you guys this information because the times we're living in are serious and we can't afford to hold our tongues anymore. This has to be information that is out and available to the public, and censorship should not have a hold over this information. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna get into this video. Today I'm gonna be playing a few clips from the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, and as well as some information brought to us by BDL 1014 and Phase 1. So get strapped in. We're about to get into this thing. All right.
Lies and tricks in the form of knowledge. And it will be called Christianity to hide Judaism, the real dirty religion of the Ashkenazis and the Sephardims of Russia and from Spain. That's what they're talking about.
Alright, so first I want to start by playing a little snippet of a Dr. Malachi Z. York speech where basically he's describing what took place in the beginning of time when it comes to the inception of humanity. So let's get right into that. I'll bring this down.
Nibiru, the crafts Nibiru, thousands of Nibirus, different size Nibiru. The word Nibiru comes from the word Nabara, which merely means to elevate, to go upwards, and descend downwards. You follow? This one crash that you're talking about, they crashed into this planet, Hawaii, or Tiamat, called Nibiru, which is one cube-shaped craft that when in motion creates an orb. Sometimes which is symbolized male and female by the way of nature. It crashed here. You all are based on that. The commanding officer of that craft was Murdoch. You understand? But the intellect, the high priest or the Sam or the mastermind, the most high, was called Anu. Anu had two sons who were in conflict with each other. And he knew that this was a very dangerous expedition, so he said, I'm taking the son of the disagreeable one who had become agreeable and make him the commander so he can make proper decisions. Enlil would have been too passive and Enki would have been too aggressive. So he took the reptilian seed because Enki's wife, he gave birth to Murdoch, and them were reptilians, and sent him to a planet where reptilians ruled, because Genesis tells you that this planet was covered under water and was dark, so he could not send a man, he would have drowned. So when the crash came in and the Nibiru stopped outside of the solar system and sent in giants that came in here, they hovered. Then they brought in what they call Crystal City. What they brought them in, they were like small cities, and they lived there while they started experimenting. And then they went on to Mars and the moon. Now that they found life on Mars, now they found that there's life on stations on the dark side of the moon. It ain't funny no more. There's a great possibility that what I'm saying might be true than what the hell they're saying. They got to make you crazy because none of this is in the Bible. And the only way they can keep me and you passive is by keeping us believing that some God called Jesus is going to come get us one day. And this keeps me and you from turning around and kicking him all the stuff you didn't do. So you got to keep me and you in that state of mind where we always go, okay, Lord Jesus, Jesus going to come. He's going to come. Every Christmas is coming. He ain't got here yet. I'm 2,000 years. And that's the way. Now he's getting to the point where you're starting to say, we done had 2,000 Easters and I ain't seen no Jesus yet. You better come up with some Jesus real quick. So he'd be fabricating Jesus any day now. You understand? So he creates scenarios like David Koresh and beat him up, and that regenerates your belief in Jesus. Or they have a bunch of channels come on television and say, I didn't think I was doing Jesus touched my life, and you start really believing it. So these are recharges because you become conscious. You're wise enough to ask questions that they cannot hear. and Nu is a man. You follow? I saw him myself in flesh. What you're caught up with is time lapse. And here's what I get caught up on with time lapse and people who were born in this country and were once Christians. They don't have any problem with the part of the Bible that says that Elijah came to Jesus and met him on a mountain. And Jesus did a transfiguration. They say, now this man Elijah and this man Moses was dead for thousands of years. But in their Bible, it says that they came back and met Jesus and talked to Jesus. Less than 2,000 years ago. You hear me? And the disciples watched it. And then when they finished, Jesus was all full of light, transfiguration. Then they took off and went out. How old was Moses when he was standing in front of Jesus? How old? He would have to be at least 4,000 years old. And Elijah, who went up on a golden chariot, almost 8,000 years old. But Jesus saw them as they were. Why? Because there's a such thing as time leaping. Time regenerating. See, they're reanimating tissue again. That means they've mastered time and age. And
we're building.
They admitted that death is an illness that there's a cure for. They already admitted that people die of a cardiac arrest and they can cure it. Because now they have, if you take an aspirin a day, you prolong your life. It's a known fact. If you take a bare aspirin every night, right, you won't have to worry about a heart attack, even if it's in your family. That's simple. How did it come out? What's an aspirin? Mold. What's mold? The original source of life. All they did is went back to the original source of life. All that cutting up and tuning didn't mean a thing. Take an aspirin, which is for mold, which is a self-grown life form, which is what I told y'all a couple of weeks ago. I said, if you want to create life, all you gotta do is take a bag and stick a piece of bread in it that's been dead. All life out of it, you can burn it, stick it in there and put some water in and twist it and leave it there for a couple of weeks and mold will grow. Therefore, you created life where there was no life. That's what happened on this planet. The right conditions between hydrogen and carbon and oxygen, the right conditions within the 99 elements and sunlight, and the sunlight produced the life on this planet, which started an evolution in the water. But when the beings came here, they had to go beneath the water. And that's why I was explaining to y'all about Genesis. When you listen to the story of Genesis, whoever's talking is talking from beneath the water. Because it says the Spirit of God moved upon the surface of the water. No one could see, and everything was deep water. Then whoever was recording this had to be under the water looking up at the crafts of God hovering over the water. Now, in order for these beings to be writing, recording, and being underwater, there had to be either in a marine craft, some type of craft that can go underwater and create a sphere for living, or they were reptilians. And then the Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verse 1, calls him Nachash and says he's a serpent. Speaks about a reptilian man. And they call him Leviathan, the serpent. And serpents or reptilians are aquatic and live under water. Then you go back to all the other cultures.
All right, so you just heard Malachi Z. York talking about the inception of life on planet Earth and how the recording of this inception was made by what could have only been aquatic beings or reptilians that first inhabited this planet. Now, Malachi York also talked about how Enki, Enlil, and Anu were involved with inception, and how Anu basically took their genetic material and spliced it with first man, the first sentient mammals on this planet. Now, origin story has some familiarities with those of the Dogon tribe, okay? As you can see here, what is the Dogon tribe known for? They speak the Dogon languages, which are considered to constitute an independent branch of the Nigerian Congo language family, meaning that they are not closely related to any other languages. Dogon are best known for their religions, traditions, their masks, and wooden sculptures. Another thing that they're known for, the ancestral spirit called the Nomo, okay? And now the Nomo are said to be sky beings that came from elsewhere in the cosmos. I believe it's Orion, don't hold me to that, but they are reptilian beings. Now, if you heard what Malachi York said, he said that the beings that inhabited the earth in the beginning, you know, in Genesis it says, in the beginning the earth was without form or void, which means that the earth was not empty, but the earth was here. The earth was full of water. There was darkness upon the face of the deep. So, to Malachi's point, he's trying to say that the water spirits, the Nomo, or these reptilian beings, inhabited Earth first. And these reptilian beings were also very technologically advanced, okay? In today's age, a lot of information is coming out about several different resets that have happened on the planet. And these resets basically constitute a new age of awakening coming, but for that new age of awakening to come, the old age has to die off. What Dr. York is speaking about is basically the end of the first sun cycle into the lunar cycle. Okay, and now we're going out in 2024, we are going out of a lunar cycle into a new sun cycle, which is why you see the fall of the patriarchy that we've been under for generations now. Basically, that's happening because the matriarchy is coming in, and you can't have patriarchal rule under a matriarchy. It's against universal law. And now we're about to get into short snippet of BDL 1014 speaking about this exact thing, speaking about the Canaanite bloodlines and the black nobility and how they all coincide. All right, let's get into that.
But what you got to understand is that the book of Enoch was written in 161 BC, right? And it's basically telling you the inception points of the Canaanite bloodline on how the Nephilim, or the 200 fallen angels, the Draconian race, they came down and made it with the daughters of men. And the daughters of men is the Canaanite bloodline. We're going to break that down, right? So first, what you got to understand is when you look at this, when you look at the sealed portion of the final statement of the priesthood, it tells you about Lucifer and his followers began a considerable success with some species of animals, right? Who possess bodies like bodies of Adam and Eve, basically. So Lucifer permitted the laws of heaven and began to interbreed with certain species of with other species until they formed an animal that was very much onto like the bodies that were created for Adam and Eve, right? So now when you look at this, Lucifer began to possess the bodies of these animals, where you get your physical devil, who you call Shaitan, right? And Shaitan means to be wicked and recessive, right? So this is all connected to the genetical splicing that took place. So now when you're talking about his name is Esau, he's European in America. So I need you to understand something. Not all Europeans are connected to the Canaanite bloodline. Now, the great majority of them are Nordics, who are part of Ashtar Command, who are the Pleiadians, and you got some of them who are also Flugarides, who are part of the genetical splicing program that took place on the island of Patmos. So now, what you got to understand is that Esau, the Edomite, is also in symbiotic connection with the Canaanite bloodline, because there's 11 different bloodlines of the Canaanite. So when you go to Genesis 25:25, it tells you the fallen angels, the wicked, evil ones, create the fixed position reality, the materialistic third dimension. They created it for the wild man, who is the Caucasian or the Gentile, or you consider the Europeans, right? And it tells you that it first came out red all over like the hairy garment. And you're talking about the wild man, because the wild man, when you go look at this right here, it says the wild man of the woods, who's basically inhabited Europe. And they were considered and to be depicted and covered in hair, right? And his name is Esau, the Edomite, which is part of the cursed bloodline of Canaanites. So this is where we get into the mythology of Yaqub. Depending on what side of history that you're following on, a lot of people say that Yaqub is actually Yahweh, because it's talking about he is the father of the Canaanite race. Because it's basically talking about he was a big head scientist that basically genetically spliced a certain demographic of people on the island of Patmos or the island of Pelan, depending on what side of history that you looking at. Because he is the one who started the eugenics humanoid gravitation experiment process, right? Where he took the black gene and he broke it all the way down to the pale gene, basically, right? which was the inception point of the Canaanite nations, right? So this is why you got to look at this right here, because the Canaanite is not only subjected to the so-called Europeans, because you have black Canaanites, because they were the first Canaanite that were genetically spliced into existence, where you get your inception point of your so-called black nobility, right? We're going to break it down today. So when you go to Dr. York's publication, The Secret Societies Unmasked, it talks about the 11 sons of Canaan are the Sidonites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, or your so-called Jews, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Archites, the Sinites, the Archivadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites, right? And all these bloodlines is all connected to the fact that, you know, they are the ones that's running this this fake demonstrative government that is being, you know, controlling humanity in a form of subjugation. So when you look at this right here, the Amorites are a branch of the Canaanites, and the Canaanites are the main branches of the Nephilim who came down, right? So that's all connected to this chart right here. It says that Lucifer interbred with a certain species, and that species is your Canaanite, because when the Nephilim came down, they made it with the Hemorites, the Amorites, the Edomites, the Canaanites, because that is the Nephilim. They was cast down from Rifran, who was also known as Kronos, that is basically equated to Kratos, Krasi, chronology, democracy, the shadow government that controls the Khazarian mafia, the Ashkenazis, Jews, and the Rothschilds, and all the royal families. When you're talking about the popes of Rome, the black nobility, and things of that nature. So when the Nephilim came down, they made it with the daughters of men, because when Lucifer was casted out, that is 1/3 of the galaxy that went against the order of Anu. So when they went against the order of Anu, they was casted down, right? And when they was casted down, that's when they genetically spliced a certain demographic of people on the planet, and then inbred the devil energy inside of these Canaanites, right? Which is why everything in the system is actually inverted. Everything in the system goes against nature, and it goes against righteousness, right? So this, what you're looking at, is a esoteric hierarchy chart, and it's telling you basically the story of how the Nephilim, when they came down, they interbreeded. You know what I'm saying? They went to many different interdimensional portals to get to this planet, and when they was casted down, they was casted down to the demiurge. The demiurge is basically the third dimension, right? Which is a lower form of reality. So when they came down, they basically made it with the daughters of men, who are the Canaanite. And the Canaanites is what created this false demonstrative government that we living in right now. They created the Jesuit order. They created, you know what I'm saying, these pharaohs. They created these emperors and the Council of 13 and the Vatican and things of that nature. Because the Canaanite is actually connected to Baal worship and cannibalism, which is also connected to the Hyksos. The Hyksos dynasty, when they infiltrated Kemet, because Egypt, a lot of people don't know that Egypt is actually a Greek word, right? So the Hyksos, when they came in, that's when you had the pharaohs, where they taught them polytheistic religions, right? So this is basically your inception points of the Romans, the Khazars, the Vatican, the Judaism, the Knights of Templars, which is also connected to all the Jesuits and the Bavarian Illuminati, the Masonic groups and things of that nature. So this is basically the inception points of how, you know, everything started to take place. When you're talking about, I don't know what happened there, it kind of paused on me. But that is basically your inception points when it's talking about how Lucifer, who is Yahweh, who is Enlil, was casted down and interbred with the daughters of men, who is the Canaanite, right? Because after he genetically spliced them, Yaqub, because like I said, it depends on what side of history you're on, Yaqub is the one who genetically spliced the Canaanites into existence through eugenics and humanoid gravitation experiments, right? And he basically gave them the edification on how to subjugate the seeds of Enki, right? Because that's why Yaqub said, I will create a people that will rule over you for 6,000 years, right? Rule over the seeds of Enki. So that's why we under subjugation on a political level, on a physical level, and at a spiritual level, right? Because these beings that Yaqub created, these beings are the ones who are running the corporate system of the government, the seeds of Canaan, right? So that's why, like I said, when the Nephilim came down, they put the devilishment energy inside these beings. They got the energy of Lucifer, right? So like I said, they are comprised of the Sidonites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, and the Girgashites, right? And they were the ones who were cursed with leprosy, because leprosy is a vampiric disease. We're going to get into that.
All right, so basically what B-Dale was saying was you have the 200 fallen angels that were cast out of heaven for following Lucifer, right? And then those angels came down to earth and mated with the daughters of man. Okay, now the daughters of man that he's speaking about are these Canaanite figures. Okay, now through the Nephilim, he also showed the chart with the Raphaim, which was another tribe of giants or Nephilim seed, right? And then from there, you get all of the different hierarchical breakdowns of the seats of power and other factions, if you will, that are controlled by this, you could say, Draco-Reptilian power. Now, we really haven't gone over what it means to be Draco-Reptilian, but the Draco-Reptilians are said to be reptilians from the constellation of Draconis, Alpha Draconis, and they are a malevolent being. So now we need to get into the different seats of power that the black nobility and the Canaanites hold today, so that you can be familiar with these malevolent beings when you see them. Okay, now there's a video with Phase 1 on Young Elder's channel that basically breaks down how Drake is a part of this boule, okay, or black nobility, and it can further give you understanding as to what we're speaking about here and what you should be looking for. Okay, so let's get into that.
And you'll find that their whole explanation of your reality is, for one, it's not happening by chance, and for two, the only differing degree in the master and the novice is what they understand, what they're able to read with that stop sign, and those who know what to do when they see a stop sign. Now, you may still see the stop sign and choose to drive through it, and you may get away with it. But if there's somebody placed in position, all right, that'll say, well, you got to get your hand tapped because you ran through that stop sign and you knew you weren't supposed to, when you call the police, all right, or an authoritative figure, what they do, or what we do, is we step in and say, you were supposed to observe that. You understand? And we give you a ticket or a citation or a recitation and tell you have to remember this time, all right, or next time, and you will be fined, okay, until you become refined, and then you learn to respect that law. All right, this is how the language of the light works. Everything around you is to be read. Everything around you is being read by certain levels of people at certain different times. People are being able to read it. Not only are they able to read it, they're also able to write it. Are you with me? So the elite are playing a specific game, and the commoners, as they call them, are playing a whole different game. The commoners are the ones like everybody else that don't have a position, that sit right up there with the EOP called the Eye of Providence, all right, who understand a new concept, all right, or a new conception. We say Anuit Coeptis, the ones who say God has favored our works. God has favored us, or put us above everybody.
You hear how they said Anua Coeptis means God has favored our works? It's telling you something right there. Let's get on. We building.
So they set themselves up as the ones who literally have the divine connection, separated themselves from the ones who sit at the bottom of that pyramid called the commoners, and they built this whole reality, letter by letter, word by word, concept by concept. They gave each color a name. They gave each color an emotion. They gave each of these sounds called phonemes a position in your reality where you'll use these phonemes to express some type of idea. You understand? So if you're speaking an English language, for certain, not just the English language, any of the languages, somebody crafted it and put it together. Okay, it's the same thing with this reality. So when you see Drake, what do you hear? All right, some people may go immediately to Draconian, okay, which is what I feel a lot of people will do. They immediately go, oh, when you talking about a Draconian. Well, first, look at the being in your mind's eye. When you see Drake, who is called Aubrey, all right, look at the being in your mind's eye, and I want you to ask yourself, does he look like the average human being? Does Drake look like the average human being? Or would you immediately be able to locate Drake in Disney or Nickelodeon, any of these places where they don't put these cartoon characters or elf creatures, hold on to that. Like, he doesn't look like a human being. Off rip. All right? Somebody might even say Dracula or another type of being, a vampire. Okay, you can immediately look at Drake and see that. Now that I've said it, you won't be able to unsee it. Okay, cool. Drake in your mind's eye is not the average human being. He was never born to be the average human being, which is why he was named certain tones for certain reasons. So what is Aubrey? Because they can say, well, we're not talking about Drake. Let's deal with the Aubrey first. Because somebody might say it's not his name, it's his middle name. So if you look at the Aubrey, Aubrey itself is a breakdown of two words. You're saying the word Alb, A-L-B, which is to say a elf or something that is likened unto a fairy. Okay, so you're saying an elf. Or you can say R-I-C, all right, at the end. So Alb-Rik. Go look at the word, Alb-Rik. So when you're saying Alb-Rik, you're saying elf, ruler, which will be ruler of elves. So that's why I say hold on to the elf. So if I'm saying a ruler of elves, what am I saying? An elf, if you don't know, is a fallen angel. Go and research it and you'll find that back in folklore, they were saying those who were referred to as elves were beings who at one point in time were in the heavens as angels. Okay? But they fell, but they didn't yet, like Rumpelstiltskin and the rest of them were able to access the lower planes. Those who were the elves on the surface, they hadn't sank into the hell yet, or sank into Jehannam or the lower planes. So they were still able to meddle around and deal with the human beings.
We building.
Right? Like a lot of the Jan in Al-Quran was spoken to be these beings who like the smokeless fire beings. All right, so you had different levels of these beings. The elves were the ones who were also of the angelic host, but they failed. So if we're speaking of fallen angels, then we have to go into that whole story and say, well, if Aubrey is saying an elf ruler, we're not just talking about one of the fallen angels as some random angel. We're talking about the face of the fallen angels, or the father of the fallen angels, which will explain to you when he put out the album called For All the Dogs. For all the who? For all the dogs. Okay? Anybody know who the dogs are? We know it's different symbolism. So you have the dogs. The dogs are the ones who carry Jinn. All right? The dogs are the ones who are represented by other groups of beings like the Samael beings, and the rest of them. We'll get into that also. So the dogs were the ones like Anubis who led to the dark side. And they weren't of the light beings. They were of the dark beings, or the 6 beings, as opposed to the 9. Are you with me? So when he put out the album called For All the Dogs, you have to go and look at what the cover of the album portrayed. It portrayed not just any random being, but a being with red eyes. So what light was Drake coming with? Off rip.
Red.
The red light. And he said his son, called Adonis, stay with me, was the one who drew these images out. However, if his son drew these images out, it just so happened that whatever the images were that his son drew out directly aligned with the whole breakdown of who and what this being is and what they are here to do. As in the flesh form, but also they're not alone. Because you have to look at it. If that's Aubrey, the elf ruler, then they have other beings up under them. The same way you had another being called Samael, who came here into this plane. But he was not alone. So Samael becomes the one who is the poisoner. If you go look up what Samael means, it means a poisoner, a venom. All right? Remember the movie Venom, okay? The one who was able to convince human beings to become poisonous and to harm each other, okay? And to steal from one another, or to go against the law of the Most High. The one who calls people to speak with the blasphemous tongue, which we'll get into that also. This was Nakas, a poison being. All right, who had all of the different knowledge that the gods has. For God doth know that on the day that you eat thereof, your eyes will be. How did he know all of these things? These things how? Because he also had the light. He spoke the language of the Illuminati, or the language of the light. Are you with me? So this being called Samael fell or descended. That's why you call these certain beings Nephilim, right? And Nephil is a word to mean fall, as you say. But if you really knew what you were supposed to know at that time, those who recorded it, falling really meant to descend into the earth plane. Because a lot of people think that heaven is up there, but now with the science of today, you have a better understanding that you're not sitting on some flat plane looking up. You're looking outward into what was referred to as the cosmos, or the heavens, where there are other galaxies and other places, other planets, with their own gravitational pulls and their time zones and all of that. So you, as a human being, might say fall, Nephil, but really the word would have meant descend, to come into the earth plane, like they showed you the Transformers movie. All right. So that Nephil group of beings, or the Nephilim, okay, came with Samael and the rest of the ones who were referred to as the 200 fallen angels. 200 fallen angels, very key number. Why is it a key number? Because not only do we see the depiction of this being with red light, like Zuin, on the cover of For All the Dogs, with these horns pointing outward, that's supposed to be this goat-like image, but it's also a jackal image. We can get into that also. Okay, when you go into the movie The Omen, all right? Not only do we see this being with this red light, we also see on the back where they have the track list that there's a specific number on the back of his album cover. What is that number? That number is 200. Why? Why did he choose 200? Let me tell you why. The son was saying that the goat on the image of the album was referred to as the daddy goat. Meaning this was the ruler, the father of the rest of those fallen angels. So if you look at that science within itself, the daddy goat will be the El Rick, okay? Or the ruler of the fallen ones, which were the elves, okay? So then Aubrey lives up to his name. He has to, by the way, because all of this is a game. One day you'll understand what I'm saying. But if you know how to play it, then it makes sense to you. If you don't know how to play it, you don't know what you're looking at. Aubrey lives up to his first name, okay? Because he's a ruler of all of these fallen angels. So he says, for all the dogs, or for all of you who came with me and fell from being gods to dogs and went into this underworld, where at one time you may have been heavenly beings, a part of the heavenly host, but Iblis, you fell. Lucifer, why did you fall? How did you fall? And become of the lowly Iblis. All right? So then, not only did you see the 200 number on the back of the album cover with the track list, you also saw 2 random letters. All right, actually you saw 3. Well, we'll deal with 2 and then we'll get to the 3rd. The 2 random letters you saw was B and W. Immediately, I knew exactly what it was. Well, what was it? It was Berkowitz. Berkowitz. I'll explain how. There was a while back where you had this occurrence where there was a man who murdered 6 people. Do the math. 6 people. And he said that there was a being who had a dog, and the being's name was Sam Carr. He said he was not a regular person. He said it was a demon in human form. And he said his name was Sam Carr. Sam Carr. Someone who is Sam, Samael, possessing a flesh. Carr. Sam Carr. Are you with me? And that dog, I think the dog's name was Harvey, okay, was telling him, go out and commit these murders. All right? The dog was doing the works of, or telling him to do the works of, whatever Sam was saying the works needed to be. All right? So there was a union. This being, Sam Carr, was an otherworldly being beheld by whoever this David Berkowitz person was. So if you say the word Berko is to say berserk or a frenzy. All right? Something to do something in a frenzied state. Something that's causing you to be crazy. Berserk. Go look it up, Berko. And then you'll find wits. The wits is your mind. So David Berkowitz had a crazy mind. His mind was crazy or out of whack. And he was listening to a demonic being or a demonic union. Harvey and then this other Sam Carr being. Why is it important? Because Sam also ties you to beings like Uncle Sam. Okay? Now, if you look at Uncle Sam, you will see Uncle Sam's depictions. He looks like an elf.
Another murderer. And
if you go look at the elves, they also wear the top hats. They wear the hat, and Uncle Sam wears the hat. So what's my point here? My point here is, not only was the son just drawing things, the son was drawing things that's reminding you of everything I've been telling you. Why did he choose that number 200? Because he had to. Because I had to be able to show you that that's the 200 fallen angels. Why was it BW? Because it's the Berkowitz, the same one, who was aligning with the S card or the Sam card. Now go look at the back of the album cover and tell me you don't see an image off to the right. All you gotta do is look at Drake For All the Dogs track list, and you will see an image off to the right that looks like a Hot Wheels car from the aerial view or the eagle eye view with the letter S on it. Are you with me? Now some people may say, well, that's a Scorpion, which we can get into that too. But if you look at it, you will see a car. So what is the S? Sam. What is the vehicle? A car. Sam Carr. So there were 3 letters in all. B, W, and an S. The other S was both on that car image, but also to the left, where it was standing up erect. And in the Holy Tablets, Malachi York broke down that when you saw that S standing up erect. It was a snake that was in striking position. A snake that was about to strike. Now, let's deal with people saying, well, it could potentially be a scorpion. All right, well, there'll be a reason you say that, because did not this person have an album? Did not Aubrey or Drake have an album? And that album was called what? Scorpion. All right? Now, what do scorpions do when they sting?
Straight.
They poison.
Okay.
Right? So when they sting, they poison. When snakes bite, what do? They poison.
Right.
All right? And this is why the war took place, where you saw Drake versus Triple X, because the Triple X is also the symbol for poison. And when Triple X was poisoned or bitten or killed or stung, Drake followed up with an album called Scorpion. Are you with me? And on his song Upset, there was artwork released where there was a red moon, young elder, a big blood red moon, young elder. Are you listening? Because we beheld that at the same time. And we saw the shift take place. I'm telling you, it was different. And there was a skeleton hand sticking up out of the grave with a scorpion on top of it. He was bragging.
Speaking about the conspiracy, he said, I wasn't there when they caught the body. TBS think that I bought the body. Internet swear that I bought the body. Take more than that to go pop somebody. Them dudes talk about everybody. So if you look, even Genius's explanation here, people theorize Drake was involved in the 2018 shooting of XXXTentacion. During the court case for his murder, one of the judges said Drake should have been investigated.
You go listen to the Mob Top song. We can get into that too. But you listen to it, all of these words and statements were being made where people were being told what was done. And he even said it, if something happens to me, Drake was responsible. Drake did it. And nobody wants to pay attention to that.
Nobody.
Let's look at it. If you have XXX as poison, okay, then we have to look at XXX, though that is a hint. What is the name of the person? The name of Triple X was Jase. That's why in my song Dragon, I say what? You won't get a chance to do me like you did my nigga Jase. Because Jase dared to battle the beast. Jase dared to make war with the beast. Are you with me? And they said they were going to make an example out of Jase. But I said no, because Jah says otherwise. Who is Jah? Jah is God. What does that saying say phonetically? To say a thing, to speak the bar. Okay, so Jah speaks something else into existence. Because go look at the word Jase, and you will find that it means God speaks. And who is God? Go look up my name, Omari, and you will find that Omari means God. Okay? So I speak something else into existence. No. Drake, the dragon, go look up what Drake means. It means the dragon. It also means Shaitan, Satan. Does not prevail. The dragon does not prevail. For he was cast out before, and he will attempt to wage war in the higher planes where the stars are. Hold on to that. But he does not prevail. And so this Scorpion album comes out as a brag and says, yes, I did poison this man. You understand? Yes, I did sting them. But remember, there were certain people who were given a certain type of authority. Who remembers who those people were? Because they spoke about them in the book of Luke chapter 10, verse 19. Where you'll find what? You will be able to step over these scorpions and step over these snakes. You will have the power to step over them and nothing will be able to harm you. Are you with me? Why did they list that? Because you have those scorpions and those serpents with the same ability to poison. Now, people say, well, Drake is a Scorpio. Exactly. What is the image of the Scorpio? If you go and find the image of the Scorpio, what will you find? You will find a snake. Go look it up. Somebody do it right now for themselves. Go look up what the image of the Scorpio zodiac sign appears to be, and you will see that it is a snake. It even has the point. Okay? So it looks like two different things, like the snake coiling, but it also looks like a dragon tail. So of course, you see the scorpion up there in the stars with the S symbol. There's another fact that you have to look into. When you look at the constellation itself that forms this scorpion, you will see the letter S. Go make me a truth teller. And what is that S? That same S that appears on that album cover, track list. You with me? Because it's a representation of something. Something that is standing and prepared to strike. So if somebody is prepared to strike, what does that mean? They seek to poison you. Are you with me? So who is the one that seeks to poison? He's called Samael. Are you with me? And Samael was the one who they had to watch out for even in the Garden of Eden. They said he was sly. He was cunning of all of the beasts of the field that the Lord God had made. You have to watch out for because he's real sneaky. You understand? And you don't know when or how they're going to strike. Why do they speak that way? Because you're talking about a group of beings who knew the order. Like the Catholics that we spoke about with the 19 keys exposed. They know the order. They know the true light. Yet they will choose to emit and project the amber light so as to maintain their control, so as to maintain their power. All right. So then when Jose went up against the beast, what happened? They struck him and they poisoned him. They released the Scorpion album to prove that they had finished that poison. And so we sent out the warning and say, be cautious because Samael is not finished. Samael's whole intention is to poison you because once they poison you, you cannot ascend. Are you with me? They cause you to fall low and fall low, Iblis, and you will go in disobedience against who some of you refer to as Allah Ta'ala. Some of you say Dawood, some of you say Teo, some of you say Ta, some of you say God. It depends on whatever your tone is. Whatever it is, it's speaking of a very specific order that leads you to a very specific place. Are you with me? And so go and behold that track list cover, and you will see not only the S, you will see the BW, you'll see the Scorpion on that car, and you'll also see something that appears to be fire. Now you have to ask yourself, why was the fire there? Because it's a representation of the fallen ones, the fallen angels. So if I'm saying Drake is the dragon, go look up the name, and you will see that Drake is literally the dragon. If I'm saying Aubrey is an elf ruler, go look up the etymology of the name, and you'll find that it aligns. Because that dragon was also in heaven in Revelation chapter 12, and you'll go 12 verse 3, and you'll find that not only was it a dragon, it had a specific color. And what was that color?
Red.
Red. It was a red dragon. And so you find that there's a green light movement, there's a group of beings who align with the red light, and there's a group of beings who align with the green light. The green light wars with the red. It's been like that since the beginning. We war with these beings. And I told you, Samael, that Sam I am, doesn't like the green eggs. Or the Ham, the ones who come as descendants of Ham, or the ones who are the green eggs, who are Eve's children.
Wow.
Right. What? There will be enmity between the serpent seed. Who was that woman? Hawa. Who was that woman? Haya. Eve. Are you with me? So the war is still taking place. So Revelation chapter 12, verse 3, you'll find the color of the dragon. Okay, where it's being introduced. You go all the way to Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, and you'll find that war took place between Mikael, and Drake, the dragon. They literally said there's a war that Michael and his angels fought, and the dragon and his angels fought, or Satan and his angels fought. So again, did Satan have angels with him? Yes. Did the dragon have angels with him? Yes. So those angels were also what? The fallen ones, who were the elves. Again, you have the dragon, all right, who is the Rick, the elf ruler, and you have all of the ones who came with him. It's more proof right there.
All right, so this man just blew my mind, and I hope he blew yours too, because what he is speaking of is crazy. You realize he just made a connection between green eggs and ham, and how the Draco reptilian inspired Canaanites are at war with the sons of Ham, and those with the green light inside of them. The green light is representative of the heart chakra. All right, and the sons of Ham are the Hamites, us melanated beings from Africa, or the indigenous people of the land. All right, of all lands. I don't care where you go, whatever country you choose to pick, the indigenous people of that land are melanated beings, and these are the beings that he's speaking about. Now, when he's saying that Drake's purpose is to spew poison, it doesn't do anything but make sense. Not only for Drake, but for the whole music industry. I'm talking secular, I'm talking Christian, I'm talking anything that they push to the mainstream. through the mainstream media is poison. All of it. It doesn't matter. At some point, its root of inception is to deceive. Alright guys, so with all that being said, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Nuwabian Mindz today. I'm going to try to keep these videos pretty consistent and keep the enlightening information coming. Because, as I said at the beginning of the video, the day and age that we are living in is very, very, very tumultuous. It is a very deceiving time. It is a time to where we as Nubians need to come together. We as humans and we as humanity need to come together and fight the powers that be. I want to say free Dr. Malachi Z. York. In the next video that I do, I'm probably going to break down the untold story of Malachi York, which is a documentary that was made by Nuwabians that actually started Tamaray with Dr. York. So definitely like and subscribe and tune in for that one, because we're going in 2024. Keep your head up. I love you guys. Peace.
We're all afraid for our life. Literally, I have resolved in my mind, wow, I'm gonna die today. I mean, they made this a big effort, but what a lot of people don't know was the raid was planned for 3 a.m. 3 a.m. in the morning. They literally came with the freezer trucks and body bags, because that was what they had expected and what they had planned for.